So here's the next story that we're going to get into. Trump tweets video of Chinese professor claiming that Beijing can swing U.S. policy because it has people at the top of America's core inner circle of power in clip that has been deleted from social media in China. Not only does this guy, Di Dongsheng, say that they have old friends, he calls it, in high positions. He says that Joe Biden's son became rich with all this international financing stuff. And who do you think helped him do it? Essentially in saying the Bidens are compromised, but he doesn't need to say it because Tony Bobulinski already said it.
Yeah.
That Joe Biden is compromised by China. And now we have a guy in China. They're all laughing as he says he did it. This is the consequence now of losing this election.
Yeah, no, I'm really not happy about that, and I think.
But so listen. What do you do?
What do? You try and beat him, and one of the things I've been talking about has been let's get a special counsel going, right? Like this is what Democrats did. Let's have a special counsel for Biden in China, and if the Democrats,
and the election,
yeah, let's have a second. Like we should have three, right? There's Durham already.
Yep.
But let's have a new one for the China Burisma stuff, and let's have one for the election irregularities, and let's make the Democrats adhere. If the Democrats want, like obviously, a Democrat Attorney General can figure out a way to fire these people. There are ways.
Yeah.
But if they want to set that precedent, fine. Then we're never going to have to deal with another BS investigation from the civil service again, right? And so, I think they probably will end up doing that if we took if Barr pulled the trigger.
Was it LeBron James who came out all pro China? Was it LeBron?
That was right. Yeah.
We've been seeing more and more U.S. companies capitulate to China. Authoritarian despots, communists who harvest organs from religious minorities. And they're bragging now that they've essentially got the incoming president in their back pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how the communist government of China ended up proving every critique of capitalism true. Right? You end up with, all the worst sort of rapaciousness and corruption.
They were able to go to these Harvard professors. What are the universities where they arrested all these guys?
Oh yeah, it was Harvard. Berkeley, I think, had one.
They go to professor and say, "Hey, we'll give you $50,000 a month. Give us your secrets. Recruit for us." And they say, "You bet."
Oh man, there's
not only to them, but to U.S. soldiers, to military personnel with top secret clearances, just like that NYPD officer that was taken in, and also other governments like Israel that have sold U.S. technology to China. So this is a major issue that's going to have major implications. I want to know, who is this top American core, the inner circle of power and influence? Who are these people? I want to know. There deserves to be an investigation.
Deep state.
Well,
there you go.
Top level Wall Street.
Let's just call them the old friends. I'm going to call them the old friends from now on.
Well, he did extensively talk about Wall Street and how Wall Street was able to contain someone like Obama that was very easy to manipulate. And then he said when Trump came in, the story wasn't so true. And then he thinks that when Biden comes in, things are going to go back to normal. What's normal? What is this normal according to Beijing and the Chinese Communist government?
The pinky ring of the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
Trump wouldn't do it. This guy was like, how do we fix the Trump administration? We couldn't do it. Well, then Biden won, and everyone laughs. Everyone laughs. So, look, Sam Harris tweeted the other day, the story from the New York Times, why do so many people think the election was rigged? And Jeffrey Miller, he's another professor, responded that when there's so much anti-conservative bias in academia and institutions and the media, people just don't trust the elections, right? But it's crazy to me that we have Joe Biden, the single greatest president in American history, based on his ability. You have to imagine the amount of votes he got, 80 million, and the amount of campaigning he did, basically none. He must have been the most powerfully charismatic individual. I can only imagine when he got up on TV and he said, "Come on, man!" Every single one of these voters just was blasted back by the pure awe of Joe Biden's charisma.
I don't know. Hillary was a really bad candidate in a lot of ways. People really didn't like Hillary Clinton, and they had really good reason not to like her. The thing about Biden, he's a goofball. He's in cognitive decline, but nobody hated him.
Right. He's not as Trump. Trump was the threat.
It's like, who loathes Joe Biden? There might be a few people. Yeah. And maybe he's done some really loathsome things, like with China.
Scott Adams
but
does.
Tara Reid.
Tara Reid. There are certainly scandals that are loathsome. But personality-wise, he's not like Hillary, and he's not like a lot of Democrats who are just,
Well, so let me ask you this. Let me load the question up a little bit. Joe Biden beat every non-polling bellwether metric, such as voter enthusiasm, party registration numbers, Google searches, which is a new one. There's primary vote count and support. He also won the other silly ones like cookie sales and mass. He lost.
Or you're talking about Trump won all these and Biden.
Biden beat them. So basically all of these things worked against him. So whoever gets the highest enthusiasm tends to win. Whoever gets the best primary turnout tends to win. Whoever gets the most new registration tends to win. Whoever sells the most Halloween masks and most cookies. Those are the silly ones. I'm bringing them up on purpose. Joe Biden lost all of those things and still won. He lost the 3 bellwether states and 18 of 19 bellwether townships. So when you say all that, a lot of people say, look, if you came up to me and said he beat a few of these things, I'd be like, wow. You come out and you tell me that he beat every single one of them at once? Isn't that weird?
I mean, it's weird, and I think certainly there is fraud.
It's not impossible.
But it's just not impossible, and in 2020 was a different election.
It's true. What I always often say, people got to realize too, is that COVID moved everybody around. That people were moving, and the riots moved everybody around. So that could explain the states and the townships, I suppose.
But we also have to understand that who was in Biden's corner? China was in his corner. The big tech monopolies were in his corner. Hollywood was in his corner. The mainstream media was in his corner. The establishment was in his corner, and they all are working together, helping each other out. So it makes you really wonder what really happened here, especially with the latest revelations from this professor from Beijing. I mean, this is mind-blowing stuff. What he said about Hunter and how the Hunter story was treated in the United States, it was essentially stuffed out. The American public were denied the truth about the Hunter Biden emails because of the mainstream media and big tech social monopolies, collusion, destroying it. This is what the professor said. Trump has been saying that Biden's son has some sort of global foundation. Have you noticed that? Who helped Hunter build the foundation? Got it? There are a lot of these deals inside. You need
to understand the way he said it.
Yes.
The laughing and smiling. He didn't just say, and who helped him build it? Got it? He went, and who helped him build it?
Yeah.
And everyone laughs. Got it? Uh-huh.
Right.
Our old friends, the political establishment, the elites, the old guard, the people who are in government who are helping us out. He says, I talked to our friends. They said they were trying to help, but they couldn't stop Trump. Right. Well, then Biden wins. He smiles and everyone laughs. So look, man, I think dark times are coming. Dark winter is putting it lightly. I mean, that's what Biden said.
I hope that we win the Georgia Senate races really, really badly. I don't
think so.
Important.
Well, a lot of Republicans are disenfranchised because Trump's being kind of quiet. He's not really being bombastic. He's not really fighting, and then everything just looks like it's not going his way. So,
but Trump's not on the ticket.
Yeah,
where people don't like the Republicans.
I mean, in Georgia, right? Like the Senate candidates outperformed Trump. Right.
But Loeffler was appointed.
Yeah, I mean there's not huge enthusiasm behind them, but the sort of
she didn't win a popularity contest, right?
Yeah, I mean
there's a vacancy.
She didn't win it outright, but there were overall more Republican votes in both the Senate seats. I think it's still pretty viable for us to win those Senate seats.
I agree. I'm just leaning towards, and maybe I'll be wrong again because I'm not good at predicting how people vote, I suppose, or I am, and I'm not good at predicting how fraud plays out. Mm-hmm. But if that's the case, then Democrats win.
I don't know. Look, I mean, I speak to some personal experience. Like my parents are classic suburban Republicans, right? And my mom couldn't stand Trump. She just couldn't,
right?
And voted for Hillary and voted for Biden. But even she called me the other day and said, I'm really still glad Trump went to Georgia to get those Republican Senate candidates elected. Like there really is that constituency of people in certain places like Georgia that just couldn't stomach Trump, but would generally want Republicans in power.
Well, let's talk about the more severe reality of what comes next. This is from we got Yahoo News. FBI warns state local police about China targeting people on U.S. soil. They say the FBI is warning local law enforcement agencies to beware of cooperating with a Chinese government campaign to coerce U.S. residents to return to China to face criminal charges, according to a counterintelligence bulletin obtained by Yahoo News. The bulletin comes shortly after 8 people, including a former New York Police Department officer, were indicted on charges of acting as illegal agents for Beijing. 8 people, including an NYPD officer, were. I mean, how is this not treason?
Well, he wasn't just an NYPD officer. He also held a very important security clearance because he was in the military as well.
In the U.S. military?
In the U.S. military as well. And he was spying on the Tibetan community, which was a protest community that he was going back all the way to China, giving out key information who was a part of organizing against the Chinese government.
Do you see what Mike Pompeo said earlier this year?
He said a lot of things.
He said China's infiltrated every level of government, from state, city.
That's very true.
So I feel like this guy getting up on stage in China and gloating that the Bidens are basically in the pockets of the old friends, and seeing the story about Hunter Biden. Let me just make something really, really clear. Joe Biden took Hunter Biden on an Air Force Two to China for a private equity deal. Why did Joe Biden use U.S. government resources to help his son get a $5 million forgivable interest-free loan from China and launch a billion dollar equity firm? They're in the pocket. It's Beijing Biden. Bob Yalinsky, who worked with the family, gave an interview saying they're compromised. And that's it. Yeah. We just roll over and say we're all Chinese subjects now, second-class citizens nonetheless, because we can't even go to China.
I mean, China poses such a difficult problem. Like, I often, people think like it was just obvious that, we were going to win the Cold War. I mean, we had a massive espionage disadvantage of the Soviet Union. Yeah. But ultimately, the Soviet Union was, fighting us, but they had a completely dysfunctional economic system. They couldn't put enough toilet paper on the shelves. They didn't.
Guess who can't put enough toilet paper on the shelves now?
Yeah, I mean, right. But like, it took 50 years to beat that economy, and that economy was completely dysfunctional. China's economy is not dysfunctional.
No. It's manipulative.
It's manipulative, and they also have the same sort of like espionage superiority over us that the Soviets had over us.
They have 4 times the people.
4 times the people. I mean, in terms of agents, like we don't have any meaningful presence there. They have. I mean, there's some great books on this about what the variety of different operations China's running here, trying to hack lower level defense contractors because they can't hack obviously DoD, right. But they try and get low level contractors and get plans that way. Basically trying to recruit people. I mean, I think something that somebody said to me, or I think I might have read it. There are serious technical computer science programs at College Park taught by Chinese professors to Chinese students in Chinese. And
that's weird.
And then those kids go back.
Dude, they're manipulating their real estate market in China.
Yeah.
To create this like a regular middle class house is like $1 million compared to an American, which is 200 to 300,000 or something like that. They're buying up large swaths of land in countries all over the world, in Brazil, in Africa, in the U.S. on the west coast. They're buying up tons and tons of property. They're just slowly buying their way to take everything over.
Yeah,
it's clever. It's basically they've convinced the United States to give up all its manufacturing in exchange for cheap labor. These politicians we've had over the past several decades, the old friends, as Di Dongcheng says, have thought to themselves, look, it's good for the American business to have $1 an hour Chinese laborers I've got to pay benefits to. They save money and we all get rich. And then a generation goes by, decade goes by. And now we no longer make our own medicine. We don't, you buy a musical instrument, you buy, computers, cameras, whatever. It's all made somewhere else. We don't make it anymore. Yeah. What would happen if China declared war right now? We'd be caught with our pants down.
I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, there's still the mutual assured destruction worries, but I mean, we're beyond the point of being able to, really meaningfully coerce them. Like that's actually different from like where we were as a superpower even 20 years ago. And that's sort of, we at Human Events, I mean, we ran an article like Xi Jinping will have his way in Hong Kong, and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we got a lot of flack from that from people who were saying, whoa, but like. We, again, a descriptive versus a narrative argument. Do I want Xi Jinping to have his way with Hong Kong? No. Will he? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. This Beijing professor confirmed everything that we've been hearing about for a very long time.
We were talking about this 2 days ago before the video came out.
2 days ago, we were breaking everything down, and we got to understand, we're in a trade war. We're going to be in a currency war. We're probably, according to the Thucydides trap, might be even in a hot war. And we have to understand, China has its hands deep in American institutions like we can't even imagine. When we look at politicians and corporations, they have been enriched more than they could have even imagined because of this opening of China policy that has been instituted by individuals like Henry Kissinger under the Nixon administration that literally went to China with David Rockefeller and said, hey, we're going to have a lot of jobs for you. We're going to bring you a lot of factories. We're going to bring you a lot of of industry. You just give us the cheap Chinese slave labor, and then we're going to have a great deal, and everything's going to go through China. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
Look, it's beyond just the schools where they have the 1,000 Talents Project, where they've actually got a bunch of professors taking $50K a month or whatever, recruiting more people and selling our secrets. They've got Hollywood bending the knee, doing movies where they remove negative things that could offend China. The NBA is praising them. And they got TikTok.
And mainstream media as well. Mainstream news articles refuse many times to even criticize China or the Uyghur Muslims. I mean, look at Tibet as an example. A few years ago, everyone was talking about Tibet and the Tibetans and the things that they're going through with the Chinese government. Now, no one's even talking about Tibet. No one's talking about the Uyghur Muslims. No one's talking about the Hong Kong, where we're getting video footage right now of them sending activists and protesters to mainland China to never be seen again.
Or the video footage of the Uyghur Muslims being loaded into trains, heads shaven. All that's happening, and it sounds like if Trump isn't the president in the next 4 years, we will just be subjects of China.
I mean, I don't think we'll be subjects of China. I think that we're still too strong.
Figuratively.
But like, it'll get to the point where whatever soft power we had, I mean, like it will be gone, right? Like, we'll ask somebody.
We're a generation or two out. You see what TikTok is doing. People don't realize this with how TikTok works. You know what? I'm going to stop and talk about a different social media app, okay, that's similar. And what they do is, and I've mentioned this before, in order to get a bunch of young people using your social media app so you can manipulate them and control what they see and what they think, you get some kids to use it, you give them fake followers. All of a sudden, some high school kids, like, I got 2,000 followers on this app. Like, I don't have any followers on Facebook or Twitter. They use the app more. They get more followers. The followers aren't real. They brag to their friends. You got how many followers do you have? 50? I got 4,000 on TikTok, or I should say a different app, not TikTok. No, I mean literally a different app. Because I don't know if TikTok did this, but I know there's another company that did this, and it worked out very, 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 very well for them. You get all these young people to use it, and eventually you've created a cultural wave that everybody wants to be on it because they want to get recognition, they want the followers, they want the points, they want the score. Then you use the algorithm to control what they can see and what they can't see. All of a sudden now, anything negative about China is gone. Everything positive about China is coming back. Donald Trump is the orange man. He's awful. He's evil. He's bad. Everybody hates him, right? You better go vote. Then you get a big surge of young people who go out and vote. And that's manipulated through this technology coming from these other countries. It's fifth generational warfare.
Well, I mean, there's a reason China doesn't let its citizens use Twitter.
Exactly.
Right?
But they use it on for us.
There needs to be reciprocity there or nothing at all, right? Like, and we should be, I mean, it's ridiculous that it took so long, or that people were even pushing back against the problem of China owning TikTok.
And they're aggressively going after VPNs, so people in China can't even, change their addresses to see what people in the world are saying. So just imagine living in China where your social credit score relies on what you regurgitate, what you read. If you read something you're not supposed to read, your social credit score goes down. And this is a society that other places like Singapore and other governments are even thinking about adapting themselves, because this is a great way to control people, to subjugate people, and to benefit the special interest class, which are seeing these things. They're saying, wait, this could be probably good here. And then we have a Biden administration where his cabinet is being filled with individuals that are literally arguing, we can't do anything to stifle. We shouldn't stop China, because if we do, that's going to hurt the global economy. We need to let China rise. And these are key individuals that are going to be in Biden's administration very soon.
Just lay down. And put your hands up and expose your soft underbelly for China.
That's why
they just want to lock up the Uyghur Muslims.
We need satellite internet. We need to bypass ISPs and get this free software mesh network in place. We need it here so we don't get censored, but they need it.
Yeah, I mean, a free and open internet is something critically important. And when you see China controlling it, controlling what their people can and cannot listen to and see, this is a huge, vast power that it just started out with saying, with the government coming out saying, no, we're going to tell you what you should listen to. We know what's best for you. Just like corporations are making the argument here, we have to fight against fake news and everything that's wrong in our society. We're going to curate everything for you and provide it to you on a silver platter.
I think we're on track to, based on everything we're seeing happening right now, when I say that we'll be subjects of China, I don't mean in a year. I mean in 50 or 100. We will be a weak, old regional power, probably fractured in many ways with a disparate, broken government. I imagine at that point, and again, a lot of variables from now in between the 50 or 100 years, but China's got the power. China's growing. China's controlling us, and we're losing.
I don't know. I would say I'm that as pessimistic as you are, but I definitely think that we're in general. I mean, the Democrats are, continued Democratic control will lead to that. Sure.
Look at the past several decades of what the U.S. has been doing, sending our manufacturing overseas, Trans-Pacific Partnership. Mm-hmm. Now, Joe Biden's going to jump in whatever Pacific Partnership agreement there's going to be. And it's not just about China. They're the biggest threat the U.S. has right now, but it's also about the U.S. just giving up. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the collective spirit of America has said, oh, I failed, I'm done. It's that we've got politicians that never cared about us, and it's partly our fault. When people go in and they say, I'm going to vote Democrat, I'm voting Republican, they don't know who they're voting for. They end up voting for people who are just like, vote for me, and I'll fight for you, I'll give you whatever you want. And then all they really wanted was the keys to the castle. They want to get the paycheck, they want to get the pension, and they want to get their name etched in stone for history. And then they did nothing. And then when it came to passing bills, they said, how much money can we make in the short term if we send our manufacturing to to Mexico, to Indonesia, to Vietnam or China? We'll make a ton of money in the short term. What about the long term? Oh, we'll lose. Yeah, but we won't care about that. That's our kids, right? Politicians have sold out the next generations. And so surprised to me, you've got so many young people who are becoming socialists. That seems to me like the downward trajectory is we had a period where a bunch of our leaders were selling out our manufacturing base for a short-term gain with a long-term loss. And then we created this world where these kids are like, well, just go to college then, right? Mm-hmm. That's the solution. There's no more good manufacturing jobs. Go to college and you'll get a good paying job. But what happens when everybody has a degree in some field or another and you're competing with people on the same level once again? There are still no jobs. There can be 1 million good computer jobs, but if 50 million kids are coming out of college with computer degrees, there's still no jobs. Now they're saying nothing works, we need communism. But communism doesn't produce anything, it extracts things. So over a long enough period of time, as everyone keeps demanding the government pay my bills, we need a stimulus, lock everything down, have the government pay for it. The government can print money. Money can facilitate trade, but if there's nothing being produced, there's nothing to trade in the long run.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.